You ever walk into your own garage and wonder if you've accidentally driven into an episode of The Twilight Zone? Because, folks, when I opened my garage door that night and saw a giant mahogany cabinet with a brass plate reading Executive Operations Suite, I honestly thought I'd lost my mind or at least pulled into the wrong house. Swear on my last cup of gas station coffee. I just stood there staring, wondering if I'd finally pushed my luck with beef jerky and caffeine a little too far on that 11-hour drive. But then my eyes drifted over, and there was my old cracked rake still hanging from that same bent nail it's been on for years, and the little oil stain on the floor that looks like a duck sprinting for cover. It was definitely my garage, except apparently I'd been upgraded to office suite status, complete with "Welcome to the Administrative Annex" banner duct taped to the wall. That's right, some absolute genius from my HOA had set up shop in my house. Now, I'm not making up the name for privacy, call it Meadow Ridge Estates or whatever. Doesn't matter. The spirit of these folks, way too proud, fake corporate, always tossing around big words to make up for having way too little real power, if you know what I mean. Their main job is bossing residents about the shade of tan that counts as earth tone. I stood there in that weird, stunned silence where your brain just checks out and leaves you unsupervised until anger showed up, didn't even bother knocking. But let me back up a sec so you can appreciate just how much mountain these people tried to climb barefoot. I own my house. Not paying a mortgage, not on some weird contract, nothing owed, taxes paid up. This place is mine. The garage is mine. Everything in that garage is mine. Except apparently this fancy cabinet banner, folding table 4 gray chairs, a tray of pins with palm trees glued on, and wait for it, a portable printer plugged into my outlet, running an extension cord down the wall. Like that's just a normal Tuesday. Can you believe it? Their whole little board meeting was set up right there next to my snowblower. So, how'd I get here? Well, a few months back. My aunt, bless her stubborn heart, had surgery 2 states away. I went to help her out since she can't drive anymore and told the HOA I'd be gone for a while just to keep me in the loop if anything urgent popped up. I work at mostly remote server software, the usual people blame the computer stuff. My boss said it was fine as long as things kept running. I thought the neighborhood would survive without me. But you know how it goes, leave town for 5 minutes and suddenly the board has a coup. Our old President Larkin, picture a guy who says buddy a lot and owns way too many golf polos, steps down. His replacement, Hyacinth? Yes, that's her real name. Imagine someone who carries around zoning codes in her purse and walks like she's flanked by invisible lawyers. She truly believes every shared space would be perfect if only everyone just did exactly what she said. Up till then, HOA meetings were held in the clubhouse by the pool, tiny, smelly in summer, but it's common property, so no harm. Somewhere after I left, the air conditioner broke, and apparently the repair would exceed reserve allocation without a vote. So as per their word salad, the board set up a satellite administrative annex for continuity of governance. Translation, they picked my garage. Why your house is centrally located and you weren't home, it seemed efficient. That's a direct quote from Hyacinth herself. Now let's be clear. I'd given temporary access to 2 people before leaving my buddy Cal to mow the lawn in Larkin because my fence latch had been bent in a storm. Larkin promised he'd get it fixed while I was gone. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I was handing over my house for office hours. And yet there I was staring at a full-on boardroom setup in my garage running on my dime. I filmed everything. Trust me, old habit used to work loss prevention at a big box retailer, so I know the value of evidence. The cabinet was no thrift store special. Glossy finish, beveled edges, brass nameplate, screaming executive. Open it up and it's stuffed with files, neighbors' names, violation notices, copies of driver's licenses. Identity theft waiting to happen. All this stuff unsecured in my unlocked garage. If someone broke in, guess who'd be left holding the bag? Then I found the clipboard with the board meeting agenda, special board session held at Satellite HQ. That's my garage. Bullet points included ratification of new compliance program, board compensation stipend. Yeah, they were literally voting to pay themselves inside my house and security and key access plan. And here's where things got wild. Scratches around my interior door's deadbolt. Someone tried to get in my house from the garage. That's not just HOA drama, that's straight up attempted burglary. So I called the non-emergency police line. I'm not the type to call for every little thing. But this stranger's setting up shop, storing confidential files, holding meetings, trying my interior door. Nah, that's trespass. Explained everything, asked for an officer to come make a report. While I waited, I dug up the HOA emails I'd half read while helping my aunt. Friends, those emails are works of art. First one, to maintain continuity of services, the board has designated 214 Maple Rest Court as the temporary administrative annex. That's my house, just spelled out like a community resource. The second email was even better. Board files have now been safely transferred to secure cabinetry at Administrative Annex, access available during office hours. She even tried to claim my attached locked garage was a common area and cited a section of the HOA rules for reasonable access. She posted public office hours, 3 days a week, neighbors in and out of my garage, for 2 months. That's when the officers showed up. Officer Marin, middle-aged, calm, didn't treat me like I was crazy. Walked through the garage, took photos of everything, the banner, the scratches, the cabinet full of personal info, noted my missing socket wrench set, now replaced by board supplies. He said it trespass, possible burglary attempt, and those files absolutely not supposed to be in a private garage. He told me not to touch anything until they documented, then I could remove it all. After the cops left, I killed power to the outlets and emailed the entire board with receipts, photos, a demand for the return of my tools, a warning that any future entry would be trespass, and for good measure I included notice that I'd filed a police report. 20 minutes later, Hyacinth called me. I let it go to voicemail, her message gold. She lectured me about reasonable use for association benefit, claimed they had the right to use my garage for an emergency, and threatened me with liability for interference if I called the cops again. Yeah. I listened twice just to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. So I sent another email to the board and police stating I wasn't retracting anything and saved her voicemail for the record. Then I dug through my camera footage. Friends, you'd think this was a comedy. Hyacinth marching up my driveway with a rolling suitcase. Jax the treasurer wears sunglasses on the back of his neck. Mira, the secretary, thinks she's on a real estate reality show, and a parade of neighbors waltzing in for office hours. They took HOA checks and stuffed them in a grocery tote bag hung on my ladder. If that bag disappeared, guess who's to blame? Yeah, me. But here's where it gets personal. While all that was going on, the HOA started targeting residents, issuing nuisance landscaping citations for native grass that in reality was just drought-tolerant and great for pollinators. Their first victim, Miss Lenny. She's in her 70s, cane heart condition, lived here since the neighborhood was dirt roads. Her side yard has native grass HOA approved years ago, but Hyacinth sends her a violation, and a $700 bill threatens a lien if she can't pay in 7 days. The landscaper, Jax's unlicensed cousin, rips out her plants, bills the HOA, and they pass the cost to Lenny. She came to me in tears, terrified she'd lose her home. That's the moment everything shifted. This was no longer about my garage. This was about protecting my neighbors from bullies with clipboards. So I got to work, pulled the footage, found the bylaw recall clause, confirmed Jax's cousin wasn't licensed. Next morning, I hauled every piece of office furniture they left out to the driveway with a giant sign, Unauthorized HOA Annex. Remove police report filed. Ask me before you pay anything. Neighbors gathered fast. Hyacinth tried to spin it, but Officer Marin showed up, backed me up in front of the whole block, called it trespass, called out the attempted entry, flagged the threats against Lenny as elder financial exploitation. The crowd turned fear, shifted to action. I handed out recall petitions, the bylaws packets of evidence. We called a special meeting in the Common Green secret ballots, almost unanimous. Hyacinth, Jax, and Mira out. Lenny's niece on the board. First actions: no more HOA business in private homes, suspend new fees, and investigate all threatened liens. Detective and Adult Protective Services got involved. Weeks later, Hyacinth arrested for trespass, attempted burglary, elder exploitation. Jax barred from handling money, Mira banned from committees after video surfaced of her threatening neighbors. Neighborhood changed overnight, fear gone. The new board fixed things, hired a real attorney, rewrote the rules to focus on real issues. Lenny got reimbursed, her garden replanted, a written apology, and finally sleeps at night. That ridiculous executive cabinet, it's now labeled the cautionary cabinet in the clubhouse. Me, I put up a sign inside my garage. This is not an administrative annex. Keep your boundaries tight. So here's the lesson. Your home is yours. Don't let a title make you forget that. Draw your line and enforce it. If you've ever dealt with HOA drama or seen someone bullied by their own neighbors, what would you have done? Where do you draw the line between community and control? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share your stories, because sometimes the only way to change things is to speak up, stand your ground, and make a little noise. Thanks for listening, folks. See you next time.